Welcome back to another Post Media Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Bruce Garriock here with Wayne Scanlon of Sportsnet.ca and Nick St. Pierre, the French play-by-play voice of the Ottawa Senators on Unique 94.5 FM. We're all here in our festive wear. It's the holiday season, and we'd like to wrap up with a year in review of the Ottawa Senators. Guys, thanks for joining me here, and let's start with the fact that in 2021, the National Hockey League started in empty rinks. I look back on that now, and Nick, we'll start with you. I can't believe they were able to pull it off last season.
Kudos to everybody. Honestly, they lost millions and millions, but the show must go on. So to have been able to actually produce a show that wasn't the greatest for somebody, but actually to put something on the ice, I'd say thumbs up. I was surprised that they actually could pull it off, but yeah, it shows the quality of the people that are actually running the show, and hopefully we'll learn a lot from this period.
Wayne, does any part of you want to see an all-Canadian division down the road? One of the things I would like to see is I'd like to see Ottawa, Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Winnipeg. I'd like to see them play each other more. And was it too much last season? I feel yes. But I'd like you both your opinions on this. But would you like to see some sort of scenario where we get more Canadian games like we did last year?
I think it would be nice. I think maybe something down the middle, because I agree it was too much. You know, Calgary is in, and then we're going to Calgary, and then there's Calgary again, and you got a little tired of the teams, and you missed some of those interactions with the American teams and the American fan bases. But it would be nice, and some Canadian playoffs. You know, it's been a long time since we've had a Battle of Ontario playoff. Those Habs-Sens series were really something. So it would be nice to get back to a little more of that, where there's a chance of facing each other a little more often.
And Nick, what's your take on that?
I totally agree with Wayne. Find a balance, not the extreme that we had last season. But sometimes I say some Western teams, I don't really bother looking at them once a year, if not none. So why not take some of those trips and put them to have a bigger rivalry? I will never have enough of Canadian rivalry and playoffs among Canadian teams. So definitely was something that we should actually put our eyes on, and maybe find a balance to create some sort of, better regular team up against the Canadian team.
Well, and I just think, Nick, maybe you know better than me. I think the Ottawa Senators saw the Montreal Canadiens on October 16th or sometime around then. They don't see them until the first game back from the Olympic break on February 28th. To me, that's too long to go without playing them.
Totally agree with that. We should have some sort of regularity at the frequency of we see those Canadian teams, but it's too much between. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what we could do, but it would go from cutting some Western trips.
Yeah.
And to be honest, from a fan perspective, I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the Ottawa Senators need to see the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings twice in a season. But one of the things we haven't seen, Wayne, since they did open the doors, is we haven't seen a full house at the Canadian Tire Center yet. What do they need to do to get fans back here?
Well, I mean, playing the kind of hockey they've been playing more recently certainly helps. But, I would do something kind of drastic and kind of fun. You know how the LRT was open? It's open. It's free for the month of December. Any bus you can take is free. Why not do something like a free parking promotion? Nothing drives fans crazier than the parking prices they pay out at the Canadian Tire Center. I hear it from fans all the time. Ottawa people hate paying for parking. They hate to park downtown because it's too expensive. I think that would go a long way. It would be a great gesture. They'd lose some money maybe on it, but probably gain it back in concessions and fans in the ring. So that's something I would do.
It's interesting you bring up parking, because that goes back to Rod Brydon's days. People hate paying for parking, Nick. But I looked last night. The charge to get into the Florida Panthers parking lot was $35. So it's just part of the reality. But how do you think the pandemic has played any role in the whole not being able to get people back into the building and trying to get people to the point where they're comfortable going into the building?
COVID is definitely a factor, but before COVID, the Senators had a lot of problems already. So I don't think that's the be all and end all of the situation. Like Wayne, I would see an aggressive marketing stunt. It's time to actually do everything that we do and give all the tools necessary to bring back. But I will say one thing though. Winning is everything.
Yeah.
So you start winning, probably people will have more interest. And on top of that, the spectacle right now, people, that's a message for you. If you haven't seen a game this year live, you're missing something because those kids are playing well. And that first line is worth all your buck.
Well, and there's been great electricity in that rink. And one of the things we did see though, Wayne, in when this team came back in October was they had a hard time picking up on where they left off last year. They finished 9-2-1. There was a lot of excitement surrounding the likes of Brady Tkachuk. He was signed. Josh Norris, Drake Batherson was signed. Tim Stützle, Thomas Chabot, the young guys on this team, the core pieces that are in place. Why weren't they at the start of this season able to pick up where they left off last year?
It's such a mystery, Bruce. And they talked about it, right? They talked about it all in camp. We can't do what we did last year. We can't get off to a bad start. And I hate to point the finger at Matt Murray all the time, but a lot of it does come down to goaltending because goaltending covers for a lot of mistakes and it allows teams to find their legs. They're on the road. A big save early on can make such a difference. And I think Matt Murray had a tendency to give up one bad goal every game. And with Anton Forsberg, he came in and provided the stability that we thought Matt Murray was going to provide.
Nick?
I agree to some level, but there's also one element that we forget is pressure. Last year, they finished without pressure. Those kids found their stride and they were playing with more leniency. This year, there was expectations. And with expectations comes a lot of pressure. Maybe a factor would be that, and maybe some element didn't maneuver well with that pressure. Two moments at the beginning of this season, actually, that changes and explains somehow what are the Senators doing right now. That meeting among the teammates before Carolina's game, I think in a good environment, everybody could be able to talk without being judged. That thing was a factor. And also when DJ Smith said in front of everybody that this team, the shift has been made into development. By saying that, we're practically giving up on the expectations of this year, removing a lot of pressure on the kids. The results right now, I think we're seeing them. So pressure might be the word that I'm retaining for explaining what's happening with the Senators right now.
Well, a little bit of pressure on both of you, and I was going to start, but I think we might agree on this. So who is your biggest surprise this season? And let's go in a positive way because the next question is negative. Wayne?
Well, I think the obvious one is Anton Forsberg, but I'm actually going to deflect from that and say Drake Batherson. I just think this guy has carried the team offensively. It's no coincidence that the team rebounded from a bad November after Batherson came back from the lineup. He missed, 5 games due to COVID and just picked up where he left off. As we record this, he's got a 6-point lead, despite missing those 5 games, 6-point lead in it. And the next closest Senator in terms of points is on pace for 100+ points. He signed a good contract. I think there's often a bit of a setback after a guy signs a deal like that. And he's been everything people expected of him and more. So I'd say Drake Batherson.
Nick?
Biggest surprise, like Wayne, I think would be easy to say Anton Forsberg. I will say Thomas Chabot. Thomas Chabot became the defenseman that we were expecting this season. He's more complete. His production goal-wise might not be at the level, but the time we're using him and what he makes other player that plays with him, that have the chance to play with him, is superb. So to me, Thomas Chabot is becoming an elite player. This year has been a turning point for him. And I could add on like the first line right now. We actually have a bona fide number one NHL line, and everybody can say rejoice in this time of enjoyment.
Okay. I was going to say, guys, Nick Holden is my biggest surprise. I didn't know. Look, I didn't know him coming from Vegas and the Dadonov deal. I think he's been pretty good. I think he's helped stabilize things back there. And that's who I thought you might say, by the way, Wayne.
Yeah, good choice.
Who's the biggest disappointment on this roster? And I'm going to go by this saying you can choose guys in Belleville.
Yeah.
Nick, go ahead.
You know what? I might surprise you all because I don't want to say anybody on that lineup. My biggest disappointment is management. And management promised some stuff at the end of last season, and we seem to have repeated the same mistakes prior to last season. I hope that we will learn from what we did or not do, but management didn't provide the elements that could actually help this organization move forward and be the team that we were expecting at the beginning of the season. So to me, I will say management.
Good. And Wayne?
Well, it's easy to say like a Matt Murray or a Michael Del Zotto. I would, tip of the cap to Nick. I don't know why Del Zotto got a 2-year deal. He's a guy that could have come here, I think, on a 1-year kind of a tryout. But on the roster, I'd actually say Nick Paul. I really thought after watching the World Championships last year that Nick Paul and Connor Brown were going to light it up this year. I thought they were just going to come out of the gate like gangbusters based on the confidence that they had in winning that championship. The two of them combining for the winning goal. Nick Paul's not even in the top 10 in scoring as we talked today. And I thought he would do better. It's a contract year for him, so it's really important for him. But he's been a little bit disappointing. He got elevated to a top 6 role, and maybe that's the problem. Yeah. Going back to a third and fourth line role, he seems to be the Nick Paul of old and is surprisingly scoring more from the back end than from the front end. So he's my pick.
Well, guys, listen, thanks. You two never disappoint, and that's the good news. We're all dressed in our festive wear. It's the holiday season, so have a glass of eggnog and have a happy holiday season. For Post Media in Ottawa with Wayne Scanlon of Sportsnet.ca and Nick St. Pierre, the French play-by-play voice of the Ottawa Senators on Unique 94.5 FM. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Peace on earth.
Joyeux Noël.